So what's this I hear that this is a farewell tour of sorts?
Well, yeah.
Where do I stuff the ballot box on
Where do you
that
stuff the ballot box now? No, there's no vote on this one. This is... yeah, I think this will be the last time around with a loud electric band. I guess it's a format that I'm best known for. It seems to be what I've been doing for most of the past 19 years. And I don't know, I'm just getting, I'm getting to that point in my life where it's time to start thinking about doing other things, whether it's, focusing more on the acoustic performances or putting together, something else. I don't know what it'll be, but something besides the loud guitar rock stuff. I mean, I've been doing that for a long time. I really enjoy it, but I don't want it to become like a parody of what I'm known to do. I'm like 37, I'm going to be 38 in the middle of this tour. And I've done it for like half my life. And I just want to... It's almost like I think I need to force myself to re-evaluate how I present my music after this record and tour is done.
Why be so definitive about it, though?
Well, a couple things. I've seen a few people. I've seen a few musicians that are like a good stretch older than I that play both electric and acoustic, and sometimes I see their acoustic stuff, like maybe Neil Young is a good example. The acoustic stuff is beautiful. And I see Crazy Horse, I'm just like, boy, I don't know if I want to be there when I'm 50. I don't know if it just sort of was like, wow, I didn't see that as like something I don't want to look forward to that when I'm 50. Being up there with some guys like trying to rock out, having a bad back, or just being like 12 years older than I am now, and people. I don't want people to watch me and say, I remember when he was really great playing live like that. I remember seeing Husker Du, or I remember seeing Sugar, and like and I'm in my mid 40s and I'm having trouble moving around like I used to and stuff. I just don't want to push that. It's a young. Playing that loud guitar music, jumping around, that's a young man's game, It's best left to the people who really believe that that's the way to change the world.
Rock history is sort of littered with people who've made very definitive pronouncements and changed their mind later. Everyone from David Bowie's final ever show in 1973 or whatever.
Wow. Yeah.
To any number of bands who've done one-off reunions and then done another one in 5 years' time.
Yeah.
And I've never thought really badly of them if they just changed their mind.
Well, that's good to know.
Everybody else just piles on the "I told you so"s. And
well, I'll try to. I put this stipulation in place. I'll try to stick to it.
I have a feeling you will.
Yeah, I'm pretty good about when I say no. There's been that 10 years of people. Why can't Husker Du get back together? And it's like, because that was 10 years ago that it ended. That's why. And you can't look back. Sometimes you just have to move forward. And, for the past 10 years, knowing definitively in my mind that band would never reform, it really kept me motivated to do things, whether it was the solo records with Virgin or all the stuff with Sugar. It was like, no, I can't fall back on that. I have to do more things. And there's something, I enjoy that, I guess. I enjoy the reinventing. I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy not... I don't deny my historical whatever, but I don't dwell on it, and I don't try to sell it. I don't know. Yeah, it probably seems. I think the fact that I've mentioned it makes it seem more drastic than it is, because what would the difference be if I had put this record out and then just sort of faded away, and not done more electric touring and just gone back to acoustic and never said anything? Then maybe it wouldn't be such a, I guess, part of it to me is sort of, it's almost like a, I'm trying to be upfront about it. It's like, I don't see myself doing this again. There's probably a lot of people who've heard my name, heard some of the work, and have never seen me live. It's like, well, I remember so many people saying, I never got to see Husker Du, or I never got to see Sugar or whatever. And it's sort of like I'm saying, well, this is sort of it. If you missed all these other things, and you want to see, you want to see what everybody was talking about, It's probably the last chance.
It's sort of fair warning in that sense.
Yeah, I'm not trying to, granted the title of the record, The Last Dog and Pony Show, flew out of my mouth a few months ago when discussing this with somebody. And it was like, oh, that'd be a good album title. Sort of appropriate.
Isn't that sort of self-flagellating?
I don't know, probably. I couldn't come up with a better title. Everything else stunk. So I was like, yeah, just keep that. That works. I'm just going on instinct these days. Not like that Megamanic thing. It's like, who knows if it's good or bad? Who cares? It was fun, To me, it was fun because it saved the record. I was 2 weeks into making this record, and I was not liking it. I was not enjoying the experience. I was not feeling good about my life or my work. Just, because I was getting all hung up on the fact that, 14 years ago, some guy that writes for a paper here in town, puts this Paz and Jop poll together, and 2 of the records I made with Husker Du ended up in the top 5 in 1 year. And all of a sudden I felt like I had an obligation to be like the best artist in the world, and always had to live up to everybody's expectations. So Megamanic was out of the question. To have fun on a record, oh God, everybody else can do it. So that song saved this record for me. It's a piece of crap probably at the end of the day, but I like it. The song, it's goofy. People will be like, what is this? How dare he? It's like, geez,
Well, a lot of times when people stray from their usual beaten path, the people who hear it immediately think it's crap, but over time kind of appreciate some kind of different sound or style.
Yeah, and to me, it's not like oh, I'm gonna be trip hop now. It's just sort of like well, these are this was like sort of the life preserver that made itself known when I was like standing there for 2.5 days throwing darts at the wall, literally trying to figure out what I was gonna do. And it was like, Jim, why don't you go get that cheap sampler? Let's just have some fun. I want to have some fun for a change for a couple days, and all of a sudden, when that was done, it was like it was okay. Oh wow, I got myself back in the control room and I'm working. Maybe I should finish this record, and it got a lot easier. But
I've often seen you as stretching out and having fun on some of the covers that you've done in your life, starting with that Donovan one.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, that really signaled to me something at the time, because as I may have told you before, I didn't really care for the first record when I heard it, the album at least, the single I liked. And then I liked the next single a great deal, and then the album came out and there was a Donovan cover. I thought, wow, this is not just another group of 18-year-old guys. Just doing the second generation of punk. These guys have some sort of influence from more creative and experimental time. Maybe that's something that you've tried to stick to since you were beginning, sort of at least stretch out in different directions.
Yeah, I think even at that time with like you say, with that choice of cover, or moving forward to 8 Miles High, whatever, with Huskers, we that band had a lot of we had a lot of diverse interests in music, whether Greg's really being a big Sun Ra fan before anybody was championing that cause as like something that you should be collecting, or Ornette Coleman, or just out avant stuff that we were just sort of listening to because it was there. All 3 of us had different things that we liked, whether it was like psychedelic pop or classic 60s pop, and jazz stuff. Trying to bring a lot of different things to the party. Yeah, there's yeah, but I mean, even as far as those are good. They show the touchstones for what we were thinking about, with all the different bands. But even at the end of the day, those are still fairly straightforward guitar, the high energy guitar renditions. I think some of the just the stuff like Mega not having any guitars, or it does the shaft guitar in there, but the like my big guitar or my big 12-string sound isn't in there. So those are I don't know. There's a lot of stuff. I thought the Hubcap record, like Hair Stew, had some stuff that was pretty different. That was like a real different direction.
Certainly when Workbook came out, it suggested that you weren't just going to rage full speed ahead for the rest of your career.
Yeah. And see, to me, like, I don't mind the rage and the loud guitar things, and there'll probably be some of that on recordings in the future, you know. I'm not going to abandon the idiom completely. I just want to hang up my traveling shoes in the gang mentality mode, you know, the we're going to go rock the world tribal gathering thing with the big PA and lights.
In fact, 2 years ago, I know you were thinking of giving up playing live anywhere at any time for good.
Yeah.
What changed your mind there?
Well, a couple years ago was when the previous solo record came out. I just didn't really have any. I don't know. I just didn't really have the ambition to go out and perform. I don't know what it was. I was pretty shell shocked from making the record. There's a lot of stuff going on in my personal life that, you know, I just needed to. I wanted to tend to my own garden instead of, you know, messing around with my big career, you know, touring and promotion and all that stuff. So yeah, when the last record came out, I didn't plan on doing any of that stuff, and the 2 shows with Townsend sort of got me out of the house. You know, it was in May of '96. And did those couple shows, and then, you know, started thinking about wanting to play again. You know, it took until the fall to put anything together and go out and do stuff, but it was fun when I did. When I got back out, I was like, yeah, this isn't so bad. And it was pretty low key. It wasn't like real heavy, full on tours. I mean, there's a lot of dates, but it wasn't that 3 months in a row thing.
One of the reasons why Sugar had to stop was because, you know, David Barbie certainly couldn't continue to leave his family and his children all the time.
Yeah.
Making records and touring.
Yeah, that was a decision that had come up in the middle of the Fuel tour in October of '94. It was right after the New York show. David came to me and we had a pretty long heart-to-heart talk, and I agreed completely and didn't want to replace him and didn't want to make a big issue of it. We just sort of went about our business, doing our work, and just let it go. But yeah, David had two very small children when Sugar started, and, you know, had two fairly, two big children and a third child by the time that record came out in '94. It was like, wow.
That's certainly a lot to leave behind.
Yeah, it is. It is, and family makes it a lot harder. But I think all of us, as we get older, start to cherish our time with our friends and family a little bit more than we do behind the wheel of a rental car.
Well, I know you're not especially a nostalgic person, obviously, but for instance, I told you I've lived here in this apartment 17 years, and every now and then I'll reach into the refrigerator and think, like, man, I can remember doing this 17 years ago, and what a different person that I was doing this exact same thing. Even if it's just reaching for the same sort of beverage. Just, I mean, do you ever just think, like, wow, when I was playing Goofy's Upper Deck as a kid, I never thought I'd be here doing this now, or that I never really could see any of this coming.
I think about it a lot, and yeah, it's strange. I definitely do. And it's like at the oddest times, you know. Whether it's like when it's time to buy a new major appliance or something, and I think, like, I'm spending this much on a refrigerator. I didn't used to make this much in a year. Now it's more like personal things, like career things. Sometimes, like when, you know, playing with Townsend, I never thought, you know, like, having the Happy Jack single as a kid, and then, like, you know, backstage at those shows, you know, having to go in his dressing room and say, you know, Pete, can I grab a couple waters? They seem to have forgotten my rider.
No.
You know, or something, and he's like, oh, sure. Or like going back after my set and sort of hiding and trying to be out of the way, and him coming back, you know, why don't you don't need to be so quiet, blah, 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 you know. Yeah, those kinds of things, they make me reflect, you know, whether it's the Goofy's Upper Deck, you know, hauling that PA up and down the stairs, you know, so the Meat Puppets would have a PA to play through, you know, stuff like that, or making, you know, helping to make cucumber and cheese sandwiches for Discharge, you know, or something, because we couldn't afford their rider, you know, let alone their $300 guarantee, you know. Yeah. Yeah, everything, perspective really changes, and I'm not blind to it. I remember, have a lot of fond memories of things, and I often think about it in terms of when I see bands these days. Well, at least in the past few years, it's stopping now because labels can't afford it. But this idea of bands playing a couple shows and then getting $500,000 to go make a record in the Bahamas or whatever. I always look at those. I always look at those things, and I sort of with a smile inside, like they're doomed to fail because this business that we call the music business is. There's very little of a real underground like there was 15, 20 years ago, where bands really went out and worked really hard, and we all just believed in the craft and that we were changing the world. And I see the people that sound vaguely similar to those bands, these days, that are making a lot of money and getting things handed to them right away. And I'm really grateful that I had to scrap for everything. It's a different business now.
Well, it's sort of like the Three Little Pigs, isn't it? If you think of those people as building their houses with twigs, while you're kind of calmly building your house with stone and mortar.
Yeah, that's true.
And then the big bad major label wolf comes along.
Says, "Hey,
I'm blowing your
hey,
house down.
I'm gonna paint your twig house, and then I'm gonna blow it down." Yeah, it's fun. It's funny, and again, at the risk of admittedly sounding a little, I don't begrudge any of that stuff, and nor do I want to say, "Hey, Sonny, when I was back in my day." But it's funny, I've got real fond memories of having to work really, really hard to get very little in visible terms, but getting so much spiritually from the music and from the touring and from doing everything within the inner circle, and not really looking out to the major label until it was necessary, until the business, until with Husker Du's case, till the band had gotten so popular that the mainstream was coming to us, and they couldn't find our product, they couldn't find our records. We had to make a decision at the time.
Are you referring to your
when we went from
move
SST to Warner's in late '85? That was just, we really thought that it was necessary at the time because there was a bigger audience and we just weren't reaching them.
I remember too that when Zen Arcade came out, that it sold out its first pressing so fast that the company was caught unprepared.
Yeah, we were on tour doing in-stores, and we'd have to go down to Kinko's and make flyers of the cover and sign those because we didn't have any records. And stuff. It was just like those things. After a while, they wear you out, and you're like, okay, we got to leave. We got to go somewhere where they know how to keep the record in print.
And yet, the majority of your career since, you've actually recorded for, say, efficient smaller labels, let's say.
Well, I did the Warner's thing, did the Virgin thing, and then Ryko and Creation, and it's been good.
7 years now.
Yeah, since the beginning of '92, so 6 going on 7 years. Yeah.
It's almost because of the efforts of people like you that there even is a network where you can actually comfortably exist on a smaller label and still get your records in the shops.
Yeah. Well, there's been a lot of good things. I think I think going back to the larger independents was good for me because I don't really operate well with the majors. I can do it, but it's uncomfortable. It's just too much explaining sometimes to them. This record, yeah, new number one, Vapor Rub, were pretty much staples early on of the acoustic shows, and then I did a round of shows where I was doing Along the Way and Moving Trucks and Taking Everything and First Drag. So almost all this stuff got played out before. Skin Trade I didn't play out because it was such a Beaster-esque guitar thing, big electric guitar layers. There was no point in trying to play it by myself, and it's definitely a piece that was sculpted with a band in mind. Yeah, some of them changed quite a bit, but I think new number one I always knew was going to have that really driving drum beat behind it when I was playing it acoustic, and I was trying to get that across when I was playing it. I think it's important. I need to play stuff out for people before I record it. You know, I saw the last record suffered a little bit for that. I just didn't.
Well, I thought perhaps maybe the last album suffered a little bit for lacking a real drummer.
That too. Yeah, it was a more compositional record. It wasn't a performance record. You know, this record to me is a good balance. It's probably more performance oriented. You know, it's more about Matt's drumming. You know, just adding that natural swing.
There's never been a drum machine I've ever heard that could replicate the groove of a real drummer. It's too perfect.
Yeah.
It's too mechanical.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't have any soul. There's no doubt about it. With the last record, I didn't have the interest to hassle with dealing with a real drummer. It was all about composition for me, all about the exactitude of writing and, you know, trying to show people how I do things. You know, when I'm composing. So having done that, I've gone back to, you know, this motif, you know, which is a good one. This one's pretty easy. From here, you know, I mean, on the last record, I thought Thumbtack was great. You know, that was just a work that was a composition tape as I was writing. So, you know, that's a nice way to record too. I mean, that was one of the nicer things from the last record. I mean, I love the record. You know, I love the hubcap record. But, yeah, granted, it is stiff. If you can get past the drum machine, I think it's a brilliant record. But
what about making records? After all the ones you've made, there must be. I know there have been times when you said, chuck it, I don't want to do this anymore. But you always find something that you want to record. Is that how it works?
I don't know. I don't know much else to do besides writing music. I love to write songs. I love to write music. I love to make. I like, you know. Ultimately, I like making records. I like working at home more than I do going to studios these days. You know, going into commercial recording studios, I still feel this obligation, or I still have this sense that that's the way that records are supposed to be made, because you try to encapsulate all the writing into this period in a foreign space where you're left with your devices, and that's what the record is supposed to feel like. I don't know if I want to do that anymore. You know, I want to maybe just work at home.
Well, you built the studio.
Yeah.
Can you record drums there?
That's the only thing I can't do. I could record quiet drums, you know, like brush drums, a lot of in bongos and other drums, but I couldn't like record loud, full-on drums.
Well, what we did, we've been making a Springhouse record actually right now.
Cool.
We went into a studio in Western New Jersey just to do the drums.
Uh-huh.
We've been working ever since in Larry's home studio.
Yeah.
Maybe you could make records like
Yep.
that.
Absolutely. That's an option too. That's an easy way to do it, and it's fun. You could just do all the guitars and all the other stuff at home, vocals. And yeah, I'm refining it to where I could do that. You know, to where drums could be put on later as well.
And what are your other activities? I know you were thinking a while back to get into production and management and record label stuff.
Yeah, I had a vision a couple of years ago of trying to expand Granary Music upward into a more full service operation, and I think it was at a point where the vision I had of it wasn't really meshing with where the music business is at right now. I don't know. Other things I've been thinking about. Possibly, I've been getting approached a lot more on film. You know, creating music for film.
Just some sort of soundtrack work.
Soundtrack and scoring and stuff. I think that's something I might enjoy doing. So it's something I could do at home, and would be a real fun, creative outlet for me.
Yeah, I just got a CD yesterday from a film that Shudder to Think scored.
Wow.
I would have thought them a highly unlikely sort of group to be involved in that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's great because
I haven't had a chance to play it.
They're pretty talented bunch. Yeah, stuff like that would be fun. I enjoy my acoustic stuff. I mean, I got a stockpile of acoustic songs that are really neat and really pretty. I mean, everybody wants to make their Nick Drake record someday.